I took a year off from work, raised my baby girl, right?
Yes.
And then I'm at a polo event in Oak Brook.
Okay.
So one of my clients, he invited me. He's like, hey, do you want to come to this event? Absolutely. I like stuff like this.
Yeah.
And I go in, I know so many people.
Like the horse polo?
Someone
was just telling me about that it's local. I don't know who was telling me. I was at a dinner.
It's a great event. So they have horses and horsepower.
I don't think I believed them.
Yeah, it's very fun.
Yeah, I didn't believe there was like polo around here. Huh?
He was on the podcast. We talked about it on a podcast.
Who did we talk to about the polo? Was it Mahmood?
I think it was.
Maybe it was. No?
I probably know one of them.
We were talking about, because I grew up riding horses. So but it was not polo. I grew up in the South.
No,
I grew up in Arkansas.
Still a lot. That's a big deal.
Yeah, so I like horses, but I don't know. So you're the polo event.
Right. So I go in and, just talking with everybody, they're like, oh, hey, Aimee, you've been out of the car scene for a minute. And I'm like, I had a little baby.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like a few weeks later, this gentleman at the Lamborghini store reaches out to me on my Instagram.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, do you know anybody that wants to work at this location? And I was like, maybe it's time to get back in.
Yeah.
And again, I'm like, is this happening all over again?
Yeah.
And so I said yes.
Okay. So how long have you been at, is it Perillo?
It's Perillo Lamborghini Bentley.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that Downers Grove?
Downers Grove.
That's the one with the gates.
Yes. Yeah, we get a lot of car spotter people that came in. So it's pretty exciting. And I just started working with them maybe like 6-7 months ago.
Okay.
So, but they've been great. I mean, hands down, they care about their clients so much. Like it's on another level.
Did they do the Countach reveal? Was that?
3. Oh my God, we had not 1, not 2, but 3.
How many of those were even made?
112.
Okay,
in
so
the
those
world is such a big deal.
So those were more so just display. Were all 3 bought here by somebody in Illinois?
Yeah, so they're
Same
all
people?
pre-sold orders.
Okay.
So you have to get on a special list.
Yes.
You have to have a collection.
Okay.
It's not as tight as like ordering a special car through Ferrari, but Lamborghini, like they want somebody who's going to treasure it and actually appreciate it, not just try to flip it and make money.
Allocations, is that when the allocation goes in through?
This was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
These clients have been waiting that long for this car to come in.
I forget what my buddy got, and I know he's on a wait list, but he worked his way up. But because I've been trying to get, so essentially. Prior to the car that I have a Black Widow right now, so about 80-something thousand. It's a nice truck.
That's so nice.
Yeah, it's a decent truck.
Car.
But the reason I got it strategically because I had 2 Jaguars prior to the truck. I had an F-Type and an XFS, but I wanted to just jump straight into a 6-figure plus car. And they said the credit was good, everything was good, but I didn't have history on like a more expensive loan. So
there's
they said
a lot of variables that go in that.
With buying a more expensive car, I didn't realize that. They're like, you need to go have 6+ months or 12 months on an even more expensive car, like an 80 or 90,000.
You're building your credit, right? Like say you buy an $80,000 car now. What if you want a $100,000 car?
Yes.
So some of our clients, they pay cash for.
That's what. So I went to Chicago Motor Cars and I would look around there and and they'd be like, well, some of the people will come in here on like SVJs and they'll have like half like 500,000. They'll have like cash ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's still a couple years away, but that's definitely aspire to be in that position to do that. But also, it's just from the way they were explaining it, it's like going from if you've got a $50,000 or $60,000 car now and jumping into a $250,000, it might be a little harder.
We live in a world of credit.
Yes.
Like you want to buy a house, you want to buy a car. You just can't pay cash for these things.
Yes.
I mean, you can. Kudos to you, like, pat
yes.
yourself on the back. But
yeah, but everybody else, it's like they've got to leverage a credit and different things like that. But that was cool to learn. But I know he's on some wait list a year thing. But one thing I wanted to ask you about was, is it called the Staccato? It looks like an off-road Lamborghini.
Staccato. Yes. We are sold out. Oh, my God.
You guys already sold out of it?
Everything. We're sold out of the Technica, the Staccato.
Yeah? How many were?
Aventador. Like, we're not supposed to talk about it. Like, that's been sold out like last year.
So how many Staratos were allocated to?
They don't give us a number.
They don't even say.
Mm-mm.
Wow. And you were just selling them like via catalog, or was there one?
It's
in
the
store?
Craziest thing. I've never seen this, because Lamborghini is like a whole different world. The people that buy these, they are, gung-ho about this brand, right? So It doesn't matter like when it's going to come out. They know it's going to take like a year, maybe a year and a half.
Yeah.
And if they even hear like a whisper about like the next model coming out, they're putting a deposit, like, get me on that list right now.
Yeah. That's insane to me. That's absolutely insane. So you've been working there 6 or 7 months. Which I guess it's hard to necessarily say, but I'm a big vision board. Like, what do the next 5 to 10 years look like? What's that look like for you?
For me, I'm home. Like,
Okay.
I'm not going anywhere. Like, this is like the best place I've ever worked for. The people are amazing. And it's really just building your clientele list. You know, like, I've already established myself pretty well, where even from, you know, the Maserati store, the Ferrari store, the Aston store, those clients, they're not just clients anymore. You know, these are my friends.
Yeah.
You know, I can call them up like, hey, happy birthday. Like, how's the little one?
Yeah.
It's like, so you build that rapport, and, you know, they're your go-to people. Like, I just had somebody where I'm like, I had one opening for a Lamborghini Urus. It's Performante. Very rare, limited.
Yeah.
And I have one left, right?
Yeah.
I called my friends. I'm like, hey, who do you know that wants this? Literally, they're getting on the phone, sold within like 10 minutes.
Jeez.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm not worried about the future.
Yeah.
Like, it's just going to grow even bigger.
Yeah.
So.
It's crazy in the more, I guess, luxury side of things, where I guess perceptually it seems like there's more of a limited supply, but the demand is so incredible, where it's like, when you're selling Toyotas, I feel like sometimes it's like, oh my God. I've never sold cars, but I know from individuals that have worked here that have sold cars, it's kind of like, yeah, they're coming in, they're looking, do they have the finances? Maybe not all the time, they don't have the credit there. When it's like Lamborghinis, it's like, well, what are they famously quoted for saying? Well, we don't have commercials because our clients don't watch TV or something. So, and it's like, when it comes to, you know, buying high end things in life, these people, they got their money and everything together, and they're ready to rock.
They're like us,
Yeah.
like 100% started from the bottom. Like,
Yes.
they've established themselves.
Yes.
They know what it feels like to not have anything.
Oh my God, yes.
So
And it makes it
so
sweeter.
appreciative. You know, it's really.
There's one guy I follow that has a massive car collection. I don't know if he's done any business with you, and I'm trying to get him on the podcast.
I'm like, who?
So Steve Hamilton, the Hamilton collection.
Yeah, everybody thought one of the Countashes was his.
Yeah,
So
not.
I have people messaging me. They're like, "Is it Hamilton's collection?" I was like, "No, the boys were just here taking pictures."
Okay.
Yeah, but.
But he's a really down to earth guy. Massive car collection, and we'll have conversation. You know what I mean, on social media, different things like that. He's been very encouraging, and just the humility he also displays too. I don't know. Sometimes you don't see that, but at the same time, like you said, the people dealing with, you know, the luxury side of things, they are down to earth 90% of the time. I heard today earlier in a podcast, wealth and non-wealth. Wealth is just an amplifier of who you are. You know what I mean? So if you're a bad person, it's just going to amplify you being a bad person. If you're a good person, it's just going to amplify you being a good person as well.
I mean, we see a little bit of everything, but majority of it is amazing people. Like, I never have really met, like, an awful person.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm, like, so bubbly. On one side, I'm like, I can't, like, have anybody hate me.
Yes,
know?
yeah.
But
what's your favorite Lamborghini?
Oh, my gosh. Probably the SVJ.
Yes,
The
I love the
sound of
SVJs.
it. We have one that's in consignment right now, and it is this beautiful blue rich color.
Yeah.
Carbon fiber everywhere. It's going for, like, 1.2.
Oh, yeah. And
Easily.
now, is that the MSRP or is that?
No,
because I heard they're not
like $600-$700.
Yeah, I heard like they're not, like they aren't the MSRP. Like the MSRP might be 700, whatever it might be, but like it'll be because
that's the market. You can't.
The bank will only loan you so much, right?
The person that's going to buy that is not looking to.
No, that's what Chicago Motor Cars are telling me. They're like, somebody buying an SVJ is putting 300, 400, like they got to have 300, 400, something like that. I'm like, yikes, let's go. You know what I mean? It's a little house.
It's crazy when you look at these cars, but then you're like, oh, they have like $10-15 million house. Like,
yeah.
They have this huge yacht. You know, they have their own collections too.
Yes.
So it's crazy to see what type of people. You know, we get football players, we get Instagrammers, we've got doctors, lawyers, and then we have like the startup guy or woman that come in and, you know.
Let's go, girls.
Yeah, I know. There's more girls out there than you think.
You'd be surprised. The girls crush it in the insurance industry, especially now that it's a virtual world, because when I first started, it was door to door, house to house. So
I couldn't even imagine that.
There's some weird people out there. You know what I mean? But now virtual, it's like we're doing business or something like that. It's like you have a nice young lady or you got some brute on the phone. It's like, I'm going to choose the nice lady.
And you know how to talk to people.
Yes.
And product knowledge.
Yeah, that's so huge. So huge. Yeah. I try to emphasize that, and I think I got to do a better job that with our people.
No, they suck at it.
Well, our demographic is we're recruiting because your prime market with this is like 18 to 22, like that high school graduate to college. Because getting into 100% commission, I'm looking for someone that doesn't have kids or a spouse or something like that. Reason being is 24/7 to
start them young.
Yes.
You can mold them just the way that you need them.
Yes.
We're like sponges.
Yes.
Right? So if you're young, you don't know any better.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like the old saying they say, like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah.
Right? So same thing with anything. It's like they're set in their ways if, they're done, like, used to doing things like how they've always done it. But if you're young, you have such a different mindset to go, okay, well, this is how it's going to be done. How can I make this better? And then just go from there.
Yeah. 1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. Some of them are just kind of closed-minded when it comes to like, hey, I think a huge thing is just Google. Like, just Google it, YouTube it. You know what I mean? For your product knowledge.
Everybody Googles everything. So I sold a Corvette today, a C8. And I don't, that's not my forte. I'll sell whatever.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to put the top down.
Oh, okay.
I was like, oh my God. So me and my client were like, Google. We're just going to Google it.
Yeah.
So it was, it's right there at your fingertips. But
I think it was last spring, because I've been in the area now 2+ years. I saw a gold. I'm back to the SVJs. I saw a gold SVJ around here.
You're obsessed with the SVJs.
Obsessed. I'm obsessed with the SVJ, but I know that's a couple years. I want to do. We were looking at, I think, your website. Some of my guys were coming up to me and said, you could probably do this. I think you guys had some 2017, 2018 older model Lamborghinis, probably Huracan, something like that too. I think that'll be my next step. Hopefully.
An Aventador.
I don't know, base model Aventador. I heard they're still probably 300, 400. I think I could.
The last one I sold, it was a Pirelli edition, and it's funny because like this has happened so many times. Somebody's in for service, and they're just walking around the showroom, and I'm just a people person. I'll just talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, I'm selling the Aventador that's in my showroom.
Yeah.
It's like $600,000.
Yeah. See, even the base model Aventador.
I was like, did this just happen?
Yeah.
I'm like, cool. I'm like, when are we delivering it?
Yes.
But yeah, so they range differently. I mean, you can find some that may be in that $400,000 range. But there's also variables with that, what kind of paint job, how many miles, how many owners, what's the history on it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And then I was also curious in regard to, in Illinois, because I know there's tax credits. Does it vary per state in regard to how the tax credits work?
It does. So Illinois, like a few years ago, was awful. They changed it where you weren't getting 100% of your tax savings.
Okay.
So say if you have a vehicle worth this much, say $100,000, and you're trading in a vehicle, for $50,000, we're not getting credit for that whole 50.
Yeah.
And it was down to like 10,000.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my God, that's gonna be $1,000 in taxes.
Yeah.
Like just like
gone. Yeah.
Yeah. So they just switched that over. I think probably like 2 years ago. And for our big clients that are, have a $300,000 car or a $400,000 car, they're losing all that tax savings.
So what's the percentage now for tax savings?
No, they get a full 100%.
They get a full 100%. Yeah. So if they were to take, take one of their Lamborghinis or whatever, and they're valued at $300,000 and roll it into a $600,000, would they get the credit for the whole $300,000?
Well, if their vehicle's worth, $300,000.
Whatever the value is. So if the value is $300,000, then they're only paying taxes on the $300,000 difference. Okay.
Correct.
And is there a set percentage, or it depends on their like income bracket?
No.
Like tax wise, is there a set?
Like Illinois, there's 7%,
okay.
9.5% for Chicago. So it just depends.
Yeah, I was gonna say the city, I think, is a little.
It's awful.
It's a little higher because I remember being at Louis in the city, and they told me just go to the suburbs, you'll save a couple percent.
Oh, but if your driver's license is registered for Chicago, you're paying Chicago taxes.
Mine's Pennsylvania.
Oh, so you're good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's sweet.
That's funny that it just occurred to me. So when I was at Aston, I sold this young 19-year-old kid that was doing insurance.
Yeah.
Very well off. Like,
Yes.
he did phenomenal. He came from Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder if I know.
And he bought a 911.
Yeah. But,
He bought a 911.
wait. No, I do. He bought a white one.
Yes.
Yeah, it's my partner.
No!
Like, he's like a little junior partner of ours.
Yeah,
I
and then he
recruited
bought a red Jaguar for me.
Yes, yeah. So he's gonna be looking to get something here. His next car also wants to.
I was just going to text him.
He wants to
like
do a
the other
Lamborghini
day.
next. So he should make a lot of money this month.
I don't want to say his name.
This is him. His
Robert?
name's Rob. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is him. So.
I know.
Yeah, so I recruited him into the insurance industry about 3 years ago, and he's my top dog.
Amazing kid.
Yeah, really good
Amazing kid. I
Yep.
told him, I'm like, I'm so proud of you. I'm like, if I was your mom, because I could be his mom.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was just going to reach out to him, but
Yeah.
I have to be careful because when I left Aston Martin, I did not compete.
Yeah,
So
the insurance industry works the same exact way. So when people go to other insurance companies, they have a non-compete with us.
California is probably the worst with those non-compete. Time's up. No,
That's my food alarm.
Oh,
California
that's funny.
California's weird with the insurance too. Like, what's hard? I think it's more pertaining to our franchise, where they essentially have like set regulations in regard to what states we can we can pretty much work any state except for California and New York, which are like really big states. So it's
They
like
do that on purpose. Yeah,
I know.
They know. They're
I
like,
know.
you're going to get even bigger. Take
know.
our clients.
And what's funny is if the people that are in California or New York, they can work their state plus everybody else's state.
Crazy.
So it's
what's
like
happening
just stay in your
here?
state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Small world, though.
Yes, really small world. And it's exciting too because we're only 2 or 3 years in the business, and I'm excited to see what the future is going to hold. And I feel like there's going to be our culture. It typically reflects the face of the leader and the leadership core, and we love Lamborghinis. Now it's just more so because I think I'm probably one of the oldest, and I'm 24, so I'm still building.
Still young,
I started building my credit at 18. Nobody told me about credit at
Nobody
18
told me
years
either.
old. Yeah,
But you can change your credit within 6 months. So,
exactly, exactly. So the credit history, credit depth, and different things like that. But I definitely see. We have one kid that has an I8 right now. So we have an I8, a Jaguar. I like my Black Widow. I was gonna get a TRX, but they told me it was the #1 most stolen engines. They were like, don't get the Hellcat engine.
Hellcat, yeah.
Yeah, they were like, don't get the Hellcat engine, and I was like, now I go to look at them because I was gonna swap for a TRX. I was like, you know what, I don't care. And then I took it back to the dealership, and I think I've got $25,000-30,000 of equity into it. It was like an $80,000-90,000 loan, MSRP, whatever it was. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, how is mine have less miles than there was another Black Widow and another TRX, and they were both MSRP'd for more, and they were older versions. And I'm like, how is the car market doing right now for cars 85,000, 80,000 and above?
So we've seen, COVID really ran amok on the whole car industry.
Yeah, I'm like, do I go get one now?
Telluride, they were going for like 20 over sticker. I'm like, it's a Kia. Like, what's happening here?
Yes.
I'm like, these people are going to trade it in the next 2 years, and it's going to be awful.
Yeah.
Because eventually it's going to come back down.
Yeah.
So we've had a little bit of a price adjustment with a lot of cars. Even like Mercedes, the G-Wagons, they were 150 over MSRP. And they were like
the
almost
G-Wagon's crazy.
Like, so insane.
I feel like every mom in Illinois has a G-Wagon.
That's a cool thing to have.
It is, yeah. I see
it was like Range Rover first. Now it's like the G-Wagons. And so they've come down a little bit, like 50 over MSRP. So it's a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
Still like.
Do you think it'll continue to like roller coaster? Will it keep coming down? Like.
It's gonna be a little while.
Yeah.
It's still gonna be a little while.
So should people hold off from buying? No, don't.
Rates are super crazy right now.
Yeah.
It hasn't really stopped anybody. It's hard when you're so used to having like a 4% rate, and now it's like 8.
Okay. Is that like the average?
It's kind of like 8, 9, and it's just the mortgage rates are the same way.
Yes.
They're like 8, 9% for mortgage rates.
Yes.
They were 2.49 like a few years ago.
Yeah.
So having those clients that had that already, they're like, well, I don't want to pay that much more. So it's definitely put a little bit of a backpedal on some of the clients. People are going to still buy cars. It's a necessity. And some of them are wants, just because they want it. They're going to get it. So Lamborghini, those are wants.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
absolutely. Now, are you into, or do you guys ever filter through any supercars or anything such as like I think of, I always mispronounce it, but like my ultimate dream car is Koenigsegg.
Koenigsegg.
Yes.
I can't even say it all the time. I'm like, I just kind of mumble it. Koenigsegg.
Yeah, people correct me, and I'm like, oh, just...
Paganis, Bugattis,
yes.
insurance and stuff. Every now and then, you know, we move them pretty quickly. We have very specific buyers that would buy something. And again, it's that clientele who would want it. Like same thing, the gentleman that has one of the Countachs, if it's a specific color, certain, you know, make or model, he's picking it up.
Yeah.
Like right away.
Now, do you find with your clients, because with our younger culture, we're always doing like wraps and modifications, but I've heard stories of like Ferrari will like not let you get like allocations if you modify the Ferraris too much.
That's why I said Ferrari is a little bit stricter on certain things. Like they will blacklist you if you get a specialty car and you sell it within like less than 6 months. Yeah, you won't be able to get any allocations ever again. They will blacklist you. I was just watching on Instagram this one guy who was off-roading in, I think it was like a 296. Okay. And I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna get blacklisted on Ferrari. Yeah. They were very like specific, like how you represent their vehicle. Lamborghini is a little bit different. You know, they like the advertisement, but obviously they don't want like major modifications. It'll ruin the warranty.
So if you wrap a Lamborghini, does it?
It's okay. It's any engine modifications. Yeah. It's a no-go.
Does that include like exhaust? Like if you were to straight pipe?
Depending if like you get rid of like, I'm just gonna say, keep everything original until like it's out of warranty. Then you do whatever you want with it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. What's the typical like maintenance? You know, is it every quarter? Does it depend on how you drive it?
I mean, you can bring it in once every year because a lot of people don't put a lot of miles.
Yeah, you're not racking miles.
But we see a lot of times, you know, you're changing out the tires all the time. If you're tracking it, your tires and your brakes are going to get worn very quickly. Yeah. And I was just on a test ride today, and my client looks at me. He goes, "Did they track this car?" Yeah, because that's always a concern, you know. How hard was it driven? Yeah. But at the same time, these cars are meant to be driven hard. Yeah. You have to drive them. Yeah. But, you know, as far as maintenance, it's an expensive vehicle. So it's going to be more than anything you normally have. You know, it's not like a Chevy. It's not like it's expensive.
No, I can imagine. Yeah. I've heard some of the Bugattis. It's like, I think Steven did something on it. It was like 80,000 or something. Like just for like your typical, I don't know if it was semi-annual maintenance or something like that, like your oil and whatever, but it's like you got the most high-end vehicle, so what do you expect?
Yeah, you pay premium. You pay a premium price, you're going to pay premium maintenance. One thing I did realize, like selling Ferraris, even like the older models, you know, I think it was anything like 1995 and back, even for an oil change, like you're buying maybe like an $80,000 Ferrari, maybe $100,000, but the maintenance, if you have to pull the engine out of it, that's $10,000 right there. Yeah. Like easily for an oil change. Yeah. So people are like, "Oh my God, I got my Ferrari for the first time. Didn't spend anything crazy." But it's the maintenance that really is the kicker.
My buddy did something to the engine in his McLaren, and it was outside of warranty, and it was like $60,000.
Oh, I don't know what he had to do.
It was
a whole new engine. I don't know.
Basically, I want to say he I'm making it sound minor. I want to say he like.
No,
blew,
like that's pretty major.
He blew something. Something got blown.
Yeah.
But I know there.
It's really hard to break those. Like everybody was so worried with the paddle shifters. Yeah. Some people don't know how to drive with paddle shifters. Yeah. Which is fine because I've taught a lot of people, and
I'm glad I got that out of the way with like the F-Type. So like when I get into like, because I think I definitely beat that up a little bit.
Yeah. No, it's really hard to break them, but they do have little safety features where the engine will shut off. Yeah. Like if you're redlining and you don't realize that you're redlining.
I did that twice in the F-Type, like really
oh
like
God,
where it just
over. I'm like
it just switched into like back into. I was like, oh shit, what happened? Yeah. But it would always be like if the road was like a little too wet and I just didn't notice it was like slipping or something. Mm-hmm. So the paddle shifters are definitely clutch.
Key. You know, some of the vehicles you have to drive with the paddle shifters.
Oh, absolutely.
Like it's just the way that it is. Yeah. Like they do have like auto options, but I'm like, that's no fun. No. Like drive the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to backtrack a little bit. What was growing up for you like?
I don't know. I was I have a younger sister. I have an older brother. And grew up in Cicero. It was like not like the best area, but it was a little bit, I mean, there was gangs and stuff. So it was not like out suburbs like out here. So, very quiet. I don't know. It's just kind of like, I just always wanted to be something. I wanted to do something. And I ended up getting into like a beauty pageant when I was like 16.
Okay.
And I was like, I got this. You know, this is really cool. And my family helped me out, and they basically, they sponsored me, got me in, and something happened right before the day that I was supposed to go out to like the pageant.
Yeah.
And I never did it. So I was like, that was like my hopes and dreams. I was like, I was going to be a beauty pageant girl. And it didn't stop me though. Like I just knew I wanted to do something with my life, and no matter what it was going to be.
Yeah.
So eventually got out of high school, straight into college. I got into a modeling agency. Turns out it was a fraud agency.
Wow.
You live and you learn, right?
Yeah.
Don't be gullible out there. And do your due diligence, check backgrounds, do a lot of Google. But, and then I ended up living on my own after 18.
Okay.
So long story with that. My dad kind of just pushed me out. It was just like,
figure it out.
Figure it out. And I'm like, I'm 18. Like, what am I going to do like with my life? And I ended up living with my grandmother for a little bit. So that was pretty amazing. She's a really good woman. She passed away already a few years back. But I think it just kind of helped me lead who I was going to be, and just made me get a little bit stronger and more confident who I am.
Yeah.
And 20 years old, I'm looking in the mall. I'm like, I need a job. I was working at Jewel.
Yeah.
And, like 18 years old, what's your first job, right?
Yeah. With life insurance.
Sure, yeah, I was going to say.
Well, before that, I was at UPS. That was horrible. It was the worst job.
But I look back at everybody, I'm like, what is your first job?
Yeah.
I was, like my very first job, I was a lifeguard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, it's cool. I'm in high school.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm doing. And when I went at like 20 and I'm going literally from store to store looking for a job, I'm like, I need something cool. This woman in this jewelry store looks at me. I'll never forget her, Cassie. She's like, there's something about you. She's like, I like you.
Yeah.
And she's like, you're going to be my office manager. I'm like, I don't have any experience.
Yeah.
You want me to be an office manager? And because she believed in me, that's what helped.
That's awesome.
You got to have that one person who's just going to like believe in you, push you. And that's where I just kind of just grew myself. I mean, like truly.
Would you say she was one of the most influential people for
Absolutely.
you kind of growing up?
Yeah. Sometimes I always wonder, I'm like, whatever happened to her? I lost contact with her.
Yeah.
But I was like, I just want to tell her thank you.
Is that who were you closest with, like in the process of you becoming who you are today? Like growing up and everything like that, would she be one of the...
She would be.
Yeah?
Yeah, she was probably the hardest person on me, like yelled at me every day. But, I would take it and I'm like, okay, like if I did something wrong, tell me I did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to like get better?
Yeah.
That was my mentality. How am I going to get better?
Yeah.
So.
And then who would you say you're closest with today? Like who's like that person that supports you, that encourages you, and just...
Oh my gosh. I mean, there's so many people. I'm really close to my family. We still have like family get-togethers all the time.
Yeah.
Me throwing Thanksgiving or Christmas. I love to cook. Like that's my thing. My sister cannot cook.
Yeah.
She is not allowed to cook. But
I feel like less and less today. People in general can't cook. I feel like just in general, but I think that's like a long lost forgotten skill.
Yeah, because there's so much great food out there. You could just pick up the phone, call it, or there's so many restaurants out there. And Chicago probably has like one of the best
food scenes.
My favorite, like I've gone to Florida, I've gone to California. I'm like, no, Chicago, home of like the best food ever.
Yes.
So.
What's your favorite restaurant? What's subtopic real quick?
Oh my gosh.
There's so many to pick from.
There is. There's like I love sushi.
Yeah.
So there's this great place out in Darien, Aodoki.
Okay.
Is
that in the city?
No, it's like maybe 20 minutes away from here. Aodoki, Darien. It's really good. Obviously Gibson's, my favorite.
The one out here?
Oakbrook.
Yeah.
Oakbrook.
Yeah, that one's good.
And it's funny because I used to go there like every weekend, and there was this, I'm sure she's probably still there, but this one waitress, every time I would come in, she would just be like, always happy, and just like, Jackie, that's Jackie. And she's like, Aimee, oh my God, big hug, you know, so it's like, it's the people that are there. She knows my food. She's like always on top of things. So.
How do you spell this Aodoki?
Oh God, Aodoke.
Okay, I see it.
Aodoki, yeah. I was like, I'm under pressure here. How do you spell it?
This looks good.
It's very good, yeah. And it's so small. They have a little hibachi table in there.
Yeah.
A couple of them. Reasonably priced, but the slices of sushi, I mean, they're like thick pieces, like a good amount. So, yeah, it's a good spot.
Now, is there any other, like, do you like steak, seafood, or anything like that, or are you mainly just like sushi?
I mean, that's why I like Gibson's. Gibson's
Gibson's your
hands
go-to.
down, like steak is great.
Have you ever had Capital Grill?
Yes, I have.
I like Capital Grill over the Gibson's.
Prime and Schaumburg. Italian Prime.
We were just out there for an event. We were going to go there, but I think it was closing. But is that good?
Amazing. Go see Andy. He runs the place.
Yeah?
Amazing food, amazing atmosphere.
Is he in the Lamborghinis?
Maybe.
Yeah. Let's go.
But a lot of like the CMC guys go out there.
Yeah.
So, but again, it's like when you get that good vibe, and it's just you can walk into the restaurant, somebody knows your name. It's a good feeling. It's like Cheers or something. You're probably too young for that.
In regard to what?
Cheers.
Cheers?
Yeah, you don't know what Cheers is.
No, I don't know. You don't know what Cheers is?
Everybody knows
What's
your
Cheers?
name. It's like an old TV show where it's like this bar with like Woody Harrelson, and
I was just watching an interview with Woody Harrelson today.
Really?
Yeah.
He's a pretty cool guy.
I like him a lot.
I've never met him in person. Not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a funny movie with Kevin Hart out on Netflix.
Kevin Hart is hilarious.
They're hilarious together. The movie's phenomenal.
What is it called?
Let me look it up because it'll bother me not knowing. I low-key want to watch it again now. Kevin Hart, Woody Harrelson. It is The Man from Toronto.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, that was a funny movie.
Sometimes I have to watch movies a second time over.
Yes.
I have like the worst ADD.
Yeah.
I'll watch something and then I'm like off, or I'm on my phone and I'm like, what just happened?
Yes.
And everybody makes fun of me because I have like the captions on the bottom of my TV.
Yeah.
I'm like, because if I'm like not like really paying attention, I'm like reading.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. So, other questions. I think we're on movies right now, so let's ask, what's your favorite movie?
Oh my gosh.
Or maybe 2 or 3.
I don't know. Which one did I just watch? There's too many because like when I get home, like my life revolves around like pick up my daughter, get home, clean up. I have a husky and a Maltese.
Yeah.
And my husky's going through his second hair shedding.
Oh God.
His winter shedding, and I love huskies, but I don't know if I'll get another husky after this. I vacuumed like 3 times over. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
So it's minimal time. Like either I'll do like a series or, whatever's on Netflix. Like what have I gone through? Some documentaries, comedies. So.
Is there anything that stood out to you that's like, oh, I love that. I can do it again? Show, series,
no.
Nothing?
Nothing.
What do you like to do then outside of the husky, your daughter, and work? Is there any hobbies or anything?
I mean, so I have a 19-year-old.
Okay.
So I have a 19-year-old, 1-year-old. And I'm so proud of him too. So.
What's he do?
He is working at my old dealership, at the Jeep dealership.
Okay.
And he's so brilliant. Like, he can take things apart and put them back together. So he's been doing, like, these hobbies, working on lawnmowers.
Okay.
So that's kind of, like, where it blossomed.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I was like, you're really smart. I'm like, maybe you be an engineer. School is not his thing.
Yeah.
Like, 100%.
Yeah.
And I'm like, find a trade. Like, you'll figure it out. College is really difficult to, like, narrow in, figure out what you want to do with life, right?
Yeah.
And so we're talking. So now he works at the Quick Lube, and he's moving up to be a mechanic.
Okay.
So I was like, awesome. I'm like, get your toes wet. And
Yeah.
I'm like, eventually you can go work into like a Highline luxury or something, you know,
Yeah.
be it Aston Martin, Ferrari, Lamborghini with Mom.
Yeah.
Right. And so with him, like me and him would go hiking everywhere. Like I'm a very nature kind of person. So if I got to drive 5 hours to Ohio, find like waterfalls out there, like I'm going for it. So he just went to down south in Illinois with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm kind of jealous. Like, we don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be doing that with my baby girl. But yeah. I love road trips, traveling, anything outdoorsy, which the weather's starting to turn a little bit. So that's me. But then at the same time, car event shows are going to be happening. And you'll see me at like multiple.
Do you go to like Cars and Coffees or?
Yeah, so there's rallies. There was one last year that was pretty big with CMC and CACW at the Drake in Oak Brook.
Yeah.
Each year it's just gotten so big. So I think last year they had maybe like 200, 250 cars that came out. The year before was like maybe 150.
Yeah.
So it's expanded so much. So this year it's going to be at the Hilton. I'm definitely going to be there.
Yeah. Is that the Hilton down in Chicago?
No, in Oak Brook.
Oh. What Hilton?
It's by my apartments.
It's got the waterfront in there.
Like a big entryway and everything. Yeah.
It's a big Hilton.
Is it
like people
is it
think like
nicer?
it's Hilton.
Yeah, no, it's nice. It's huge.
It's nicer than where I stay, the Westin.
Yeah, it's way nicer.
Are you Westin like?
I say the Westin and Lombard.
Mm-hmm.
How far is this?
It's like literally 2 minutes.
10 minutes. Yeah, it's
not
far.
5 minutes from here.
It's nicer than a Westin.
I'll send you the details.
Yeah, I like love hotels.
I feel like plus one here. Yeah. Who's tagging along this time?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was dope. I can't think of anything else, and I'll try to ramble on, but I don't want to draw it out too much.
No, this has been really cool. That's why I was kind of flattered. I'm like, I've never done a podcast.
Yeah, they're fun.
It is, because you start talking about stuff, and I'm like, again, my ADD is sometimes off the chart. So I'll talk about multiple things, but, you know, when Dave reached out to me, I was like, really? I'm like, that's kind of cool. You know, let me check it out and see, because I wanted to expand a little bit more. And maybe like start doing like YouTubes and things. We're on
the up and up. You know what I mean? A year ago we had 100 subscribers. Now we have 1,300, and you know, we've had a few viral TikTok videos, 3 million views, and
I can't get in the TikTok thing. I've tried like
the revenue that you would.
It's a lot of work.
It's so much work.
It's a lot of work. People realize that.
You need someone to like tackle it. So like, Starla be my executive assistant and like managing my media as well. If I didn't have her, it would be a fraction of what it is. So it's like
you have to constantly upload stuff.
Oh, we upload 3 times a day.
Like you have to put certain music on there. It has to be a certain length. I was like, there's a lot involved in this.
I hired a TikTok specialist, just somebody that literally just basically just sends me what are the top sounds to put on.
That's how it is though. I just started realizing this. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So one of my clients, he's like, maybe he's got like 50,000 followers. And I'm like, that's a good chunk. And I just looked at him and like, how do you do it? Like, how did you expand? He's like, you got to tag along to somebody that's really big already. And then from there, it's just like a chain reaction.
Yes.
I'm like, but I know people. I didn't really use people like that before.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's huge. That's what we've been trying to capitalize on this year is try to get more famous individuals kind of associated with the podcast and just what we're pushing towards. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's an amazing goal. It's like, I mean, in my industry, it's like who you know and like, do they know you?
That's the most important part of
I'm very well known
that,
too. You know, there's not a lot of women in the car industry. It's just kind of crazy. But there are some that have like just stuck it through. I'll never forget like when I started working at the Jeep store. I quit like 3 months after. Yeah. It was a pretty crazy story.
I feel like we miss out on a couple crazy stories. I'm like, we're gonna have to run a second
this
episode.
One was pretty intense. And everybody just kind of looked at me as I walked out. They're like, "What happened?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna be talked to like that."
Was it a girl fight or was?
No.
Just
I'm normally like
a manager was disrespectful.
Yeah. They never had a woman work with them, and it was just.
I almost fired this kid once. Because I grew up in the South, where you don't say derogatory things typically, even around females. Like I remember being like growing up like on a barn, and like they're like swearing around females. Basically, you just get punched in the mouth. Yeah. But I remember I had this kid. I was 20 years old, and we're in Nebraska, And she wasn't, this was my old assistant, but she wasn't my assistant at the time. And he had got upset with her. And I just hear him like yell, bitch. And I'm like, who is this guy talking to? And I took him outside. I was like, listen, if you ever disrespect her or any female ever again and call,
I mean,
like,
that could be somebody's sister. That could be your mom.
Right?
Like, would you ever want somebody talking to them like that?
Right.
No.
Right.
Oh my
Like,
God.
that can't fly, brother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not gonna have an opportunity to work here. So, but that's one thing that kind of I'm dumbfounded by is like how sometimes we have been talking about this recently of like, hey, look, the guys can't talk like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and it's like I don't know. There's no justification for it. You know what I mean? You have respect for people in general, but
yeah.
I think there's still certain levels of like you'd be a little. I don't know. I think I have a little sister. She works here as well, so I'm like.
Exactly.
I wouldn't want
but
my little sister to talk
like
too
so
crazy.
much. Like I've been doing this for like 12 years now, and you know, from coworkers to customers, I've heard it all.
Yes.
I've heard it all. So I just, certain things I roll off my shoulder. I'm like, oh, whatever, you know, just, that's fine. But then other ones, I'm like.
Yeah, there's certain lines you just don't cross.
Yeah, that was one of the lines.
The B word is not, that's the line we don't.
No, they told me I had thunder thighs.
Oh, no.
I was
that's
like,
a line
what?
we don't cross.
I'm like,
Yeah.
why would you say that?
Yeah, no, that's a line we don't cross.
Yeah.
Shout outs, social media for you. Where can people find you? They want to get a Lamborghini. Please come with money.
The craziest thing. So I sold a Urus a few years back, and I have never seen somebody come like bags of cash.
Yeah.
Bags of cash. And I'm like,
how does that work? Do you guys just take the bags and it's good to go?
Well, I mean, obviously we count it, so please no ones, no fives.
Yes.
Like, oh my God.
Oh, that would be horrible.
Yeah, that was pretty intense, but customer for life, you know, so
Yeah.
it's just one of those things, you know, you're in their speed dial.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if you want to find me, Instagram, Aimee Chicago Luxury. My TikTok, I'm working on that.
Okay.
I'm working on that. It still has, like, it's in the works, but Perillo Lamborghini, most definitely find me there.
Is there multiple Perillo Lamborghini locations, or is it just Downers Grove?
So Perillo does own like a couple locations. So they have Gold Coast.
Yes.
They have the BMW store. I work at the Downers Grove store.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So.
Awesome. Well, this was awesome. Make sure you guys check out Aimee Luxury Chicago.
Aimee Chicago Luxury.
Aimee Chicago Luxury on Instagram, and stay tuned for when I get my Lambo, hopefully soon. We're going to get off this call and see if I can finesse a deal.
Right. Get Robert too.
Yes. 2 Lambos. Let's go. All right. Thank you, guys.